said, okay, this is my eureka moment for me, where I can see that the technology about quantum computing is really changing. And the day you woke up, you're like, hey, I really want to work on quantum computing. I want to. This is my future now. Or maybe there was no such thing, and it was a much more, natural process where you've been following the technology for many years, and it kind of happened. How was it for you?
So yeah, I think if you look at my career, which would take, like you said, just go to my LinkedIn. Maybe you can post it with the video or whatnot, and you can see the entire checker path of that. But in a very unique way, I guess if I were to put it all in a 30-second elevator pitch of what I've done is, I've been involved in data analytics in one way or another since my early graduate career, and simulation. So I did molecular simulation of biophysical systems, particularly viral and cancer immunology, which is kind of interesting today that we're in this COVID situation. So, but in simulation and in data analytics, particularly in Bayesian network work that I had done in bioinformatics and this kind of area, we always hit up against these computational problems. Complexity was a problem, and we always had to take shortcuts. With all of these things. In molecular simulation, we would take shortcuts in order to model very complex molecular systems. In gene regulatory networks, we'd have to do all kinds of programming cuts, shortcuts to really get to our solutions. When I was doing big data work at Nissan, we would have to take shortcuts on, what size of latent space could we actually handle in these problems? And so, you're always had to make compromises. So I guess this was some problem that had followed me throughout my career, and always, I guess I was, one of these renegades who was always, trying to hit these problems. Natural language. Who would have chosen natural language as a problem to go after in the late 90s? There's not enough computation in the world to do that. These real NP hard problems, or whatever complexity class you want to put on them, is always a problem in compute on the high end of things, whether it's in simulation or in big data. And this happens, in things that affect small companies and large companies alike, and all parts of our economy. So I guess that's kind of a theme. So when Alain Asparagusic, my esteemed co-founder, one of the people who actually came up with the idea of having a NISQ algorithm with VQE in his lab, said, I hear you're coming available. This is great news. Because I'm spinning out Zapata. I said, what is Zapata? He said, the quantum people, quantum chemistry. No. The quantum chemistry people and the quantum computing people in my lab are spinning out. I said, quantum computing? Actually, to be honest, I was like, wow. Has there been progress in qubits? I mean, I had known about, some of the original papers and Pierre Shore stuff from the 90s. And as a theory, this is great, but can you actually do anything? Are there any qubits yet? I had not actually been following it. But Alain was like, no, there's real hardware now. It's really going to work. We need a software company to I'm like, with what, 2 qubits? But that's 2 to the 2. That's 4 bits. What am I going to do with that? Really. I mean, I took a very kind of skeptical approach, and he said, no. Come to my lab. Come tomorrow. And 10 hours later or less, I think I was sitting there in the Department of Chemistry at Harvard, and he and my current co-founders, the team. The 5 of them, by lunchtime, had convinced me that, look, there's hardware, there are actual qubits, that this is accelerating, there are actual things happening here, and that there is a need for actually ahead of the curve of having an enterprise framework, an enterprise software that will actually run these things. And to me, this made sense, because at the end of the day, there needed to be software to run this, but what problems could this handle? I mean, this was a theme that I had had in several industries and at several stages in my career, from pharmaceuticals to automotive to all of these places. I could see, wow, if this works, this could solve some of the very basic problems that I had approached in my career in so many areas, and so that I was convinced of. Was I completely convinced, to be honest, that we would get enough qubits with enough fidelity to get there on that first day? I was a little bit still skeptical, but I was willing to make that bet because it's so important. And I did see that companies actually were coming to Alon. Companies, and this was the problem he had, companies were coming to Alon and saying, how many qubits do I need to actually beat my classical algorithms? I want to know the answer, because I know that IBM's doing this, and I know that Google's doing that, and we've heard that, and we've talked to them, and so we want to be prepared. And he would go to, he said, look, I'm an academic lab. We don't do that. We don't do like consulting for you about what algorithms you have in your classical world and when we're going to beat your classical chemistry algorithms. That you need a company to go do that. And really, that was the impetus. Wow, these are big companies who are, to Denise's earlier question, this was the early adopter curve that really showed that this is going to happen. When big, and I've seen this throughout my career, when large companies that have a really large problem start throwing, seven figures US dollars, like millions of dollars into an area and get serious about it, that's when something's going to happen. That's when a revolution is going to happen. I've seen it a couple of times in my career, fortunately. And so that was my kind of recognition signal that, wow, this is serious. Companies are coming to Alon because they want to figure this out when that's going to happen. Well, that's a value inflection. So we need to actually be a company that could help them figure that out with scientific integrity, so that it's not hype, so that it's not just some kind of hopeful wish. So I didn't want to be early. I wanted to be part of getting those answers to these companies so that they could make the right investment decisions at the right time. And there was a need for that. So that was the impetus, and that's how we started. And so by lunchtime, we kind of had a premise that this was what we were going to do. And after that, over the next hours and days and weeks, he started introducing me to people at all these companies as the CEO of Zapata that didn't exist yet. But Alon doesn't take no for an answer. So, I think IBM, Jay's team and Jerry's team, there were, and Anthony, that was one of the first calls that we made. Then Jeremy at PsiQuantum and some other people, titans in the field, really. And this is back in 2017, when I don't think anyone even knew that Jeremy was really doing a company, except people who knew him really closely, or at least they hadn't announced it. If you went to Psi, it was just their Psi symbol, and that's it. And now look, a couple of years later, $250 million of funding, pretty impressive progress that way. So I guess I can say in retrospect that it was the right decision. At the time, was I nervous about it? Yes. Did I have a strong feeling that this could work? Yes. But I've never been one in my career, as you can look through it, to shy away from those kinds of challenges. And I felt that all of these signals were doing this. And furthermore, on a personal level, wow, I can actually in a company have an impact on things like molecular simulation and quantum chemistry and drug discovery on that end, but also some of the big data stuff in automotive that I've been working on, like autonomous driving and all of these models, Bayesian statistics and Bayesian models for bioinformatics, but other areas as well. All of these things that have these high complexity problems that quantum computing will eventually be really apropos to address. And that to me was extremely exciting on a personal level, because it kind of tied everything that I had done, over the past couple of decades together.